Welcome to the Danny Clinkscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Insightful and witty commentary, probing interviews, and detours from the beaten path.
Welcome to Monday Musings, Danny SportsWrap, and I wanted to start off today with a thank you and a welcome aboard, because one of the only good things, and it's only slightly good in my world, of the people having to stay at home and want to consume information and entertainment is the fact that my already good numbers at DannyClinkscale.com and the Reasonably Irreverent Commentary have only blossomed during this period of time, and I only have you to thank. And over the last couple of weeks, literally hundreds and hundreds of you have come to sample DannyClinkscale.com and my podcast for the first time, and I welcome you aboard, and thank you very much. My analytics aren't so specific that I exactly know who you are by name, but I know by little numbers that new people are coming aboard, and you can see that and see what they're sampling. And also what you notice is that content from weeks, months, maybe even a year ago is being consumed, which obviously is people who haven't gone to the website before. So I thank you for that. I appreciate that, and I really appreciate the fact that I can maybe provide some kind of solace and entertainment and smiles and information and all that stuff as I crank out some podcasts and blogs, and obviously I have a little bit more time to do that. But what I have to do on today's podcast is do what we've been doing on Monday Musings, which is to mix what we've been doing in life, in my little world, maybe giving an example of what you are doing in your life, and then talk about the scraps of sports news we have. Much of it is NFL football, but there's occasional entertaining things, and of course the biggest overriding thing in the world of sports is sporting events that we are losing. And once again today, another major sporting event, the Open Championship, the British Open in golf, if you're not attuned to that phraseology as much, was canceled. That event not to be played or originally scheduled till middle to slightly late July, another indication of how far out things are being actually ruined by the coronavirus, and not just postponed, but completely canceled. Unfortunately, England has become the world's biggest hotspot right now, and I guess it's not really that surprising. It's a country that has a lot of people in a small area. The weather is not particularly good. There's a pub culture. They probably were initially a little bit slow on the uptake, not like a country like South Korea that we'll talk about later, where we get some shred of hope in the sports world. But anyway, thanks for coming aboard. I appreciate it. I'll try to put out as much content as possible, and I appreciate you consuming it and boosting my numbers and boosting my spirits as well. So that makes me feel good in sometimes a not-so-great environment. Each cloudy day like we have today here in Kansas City seems like a bummer, because we got enough bummer things going on in our life. How about a little sunshine? When we get it, like yesterday, it really is kind of a blessing. Talk about that and many more things coming up on Monday Musings, Danny SportsWrap, right here at the Reasonably Irreverent podcast. We're visiting with Larry Marshall, former Chiefs defensive back and punt returner, and now a Chiefs ambassador. Larry is a former pro football player with the aches and pains that come with that, and moving on in age as we all are. What do the Canaway CBD products do for you?
It's been a great relief for me. Being a punt and kickoff returner, collisions were a mainstay of my career, and these Canaway products, the salve especially, has really helped me try to get through every day with the aches and pains that I've had over a career of 7+ years in the NFL.
I get similar benefits as well, particularly with my back. Certainly wasn't a football player. What's the best way for our listeners to get more information about the great products themselves?
Well, I'm so enthused about it, Dana. They just contacted me at larrymarshall.canaway.com, and I can give them all the information they need to help them get through the day as well.
Start gaining all the benefits that Larry and I do from the trusted and reliable line of Canaway products. As Larry said, visit larrymarshall.canaway.com and get information on all the great products from Canaway.
Hey everyone, this is Matt Llewellyn from 23rd Street Brewery, wishing you well while you stay safe during this time of uncertainty. Due to the recent news, you won't be able to get the same in-restaurant experience at the 23rd Street Brewery that you've come to expect over the past 16 years. But you can get the same delicious items prepared with the highest level of staff cleanliness available for carryout and delivery through our partners Eat Street. You can also still enjoy our craft beers and crowlers for to-go service. So remember, stay safe, and together we will all get through this time of uncertainty.
Cinematic Visions has been an affordable solution for professional media production in Kansas City since 2003, offering award-winning video production and creation, as well as a wide array of digital and social media management services. From planning, scripting, filming, editing, and post-production, to delivering your product to a watching world, Cinematic Visions will provide professional and affordable services for you and your business with the necessary return on investment to make it all worthwhile. Cinematic Vision's goal is to unlock the power of storytelling through video and a strong online presence for your company. Beyond the numbers, they want to inspire and evoke your clients to feel and act. Let my friends at Cinematic Visions embed your brand where it belongs, in your customers' minds. You can find them online at cinematicvisions.com or with a quick phone call at 816-600-6300.
If you'd like to join these and other great sponsors and market your business to a growing and engaged audience, contact us at danny@dannyclinkscale.com. Look forward to hearing from you.
I'll begin on this Monday with the thought of, do you feel like in your life you're merely killing time or trying to enjoy the time, enjoy things a little bit differently? I guess that's a message I would send out. There are times when absolutely I feel like I'm killing time, that maybe right now would be a good time for a nap, but maybe a nap would just reinforce the fact it'll be hard to go to sleep later today. Let's try to find something constructive to do, something you've put off, something that maybe was a project that was a couple days away but ends up being today, and that happened to me yesterday. As I'm sure this will make people faint out there who know me well, but I pretty much single-handedly created a flower garden in our front yard yesterday. Over time, an area just off of our front steps was originally a garden, or a small garden, probably 4 feet by 4 feet, something that provided ground cover and little purple flowers that led up to the front steps. Well, one time, and it was so long ago I don't even remember, my wife does, the landscapers that we had, or the people who take care of our lawn, I don't have a landscaper per se, thank you very much, but they planted grass in that area early in the spring because all they saw was bare dirt at some point in time. Well, that grass has flourished, and basically it's turned into basically full-bore lawn right there. So yesterday, with the usual assistance of my across-the-street neighbor Ken, who has every implement, every tool, and every bit of knowledge for the fix-it man that I am not, gave me a couple of things. I forget what the name of the one is, but it has sort of a pickaxe thing on one side and another implement on the other, and it's designed for tearing up turf, which I did. And this area still has the original spot that we had. It was bordered by PVC piping to provide a nice little black border there. So I was able to figure out where that went, and through rather back-breaking hauling out of sod, I did create the spot where we could plant 6 flowers, which will bloom and cover the area. My wife provided a little assistance with that, but she was fully embracing the fact that this was my project. And I'll tell you what, when lawn becomes full-blown turf that's been there for several years, it's not easy to tear up. But I did it. I completed the job. There are now 6 lovely purple flowers there. They will only blossom and bloom over the years, and you got a real sense of accomplishment. Somebody walked by while I was doing it, and they said, "Boy, you look like you're having a blast." And I was like, well, not really, but I do like to do projects where you're going to be able to complete it and have a sense of accomplishment right then. And over about a 4-hour span, I did do that. And so those are the type of little victories that we really like to have in life right now. And every time I see that little spot in our front yard now, there will be a bit of a sense of pride. So maybe that's the kind of thing that you've put off or thought, it'd be nice to have a little tomato garden over here or something like that. Yeah, well, now's the time to do it. You probably have some time, and it's another way to keep yourself distant, home, and away. And I think we're doing a little bit better at that over time. I wouldn't say that in my personal experience when I'm going to the grocery store or something like that, or the hardware store like yesterday, I don't sense that I see we are doing a fantastic job of that. Some people seem kind of oblivious. I'll have to wait sometimes at the end of an aisle at the grocery store because somebody's kind of taken up the aisle. Somebody will be at the end and they don't quite understand why I don't want to pass them within a foot. But I think we're getting better. I think we're doing better, and we're starting to see minute signs of progress across the country, only in the fact that really disastrous news is getting lesser disastrous. The death rates and case rates in Boston and New York City are slightly down. Over in Europe, Italy seems like maybe they have passed their crest, and of course, prior to England and China before that, they were the absolute horror show of the entire world. So I don't think we're plateauing in this country, and we heard from the Surgeon General yesterday that this is supposed to be the worst week we will have. Well, if you're hearing that it's the worst week, at least he seems to be saying that this will be our peak, our horrible week, and it still won't be good after that, but maybe we are at the height and we will start to plateau. Those are just the little things that kind of grasp onto right now. Well, it was time for, after that garden was constructed, and I certainly laid down and rested my back for a little while, took a shower, and then it was about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and my wife and I had planned what we do about once a week together. We do this separately almost every day, is take a little drive. Well, this was more than a little drive. I live in Shawnee, and we drove basically all the way to 255th Street, down 69 Highway, and drove around in that area, and Lewisburg, and all that type of thing. And there's a lot of great places in our area to just sort of get away and be driving through farmland and see horses and see barns and things like that. It's very relaxing and restful, and I think it's something that you can embrace in your world. We don't drive our cars very much, so you shouldn't feel that bad about wasting a little gas, because I know that I'm going weeks on a tank of gas, and it used to be 2 or 3 days, because I would be busy running around going to meetings and doing things like that. Well, those things are all out now, so we had a great time together. It was a sunny day. We listened to the radio, listened to some music. She has some channels that, for whatever reason, since we have the same membership, I don't have on my Sirius XM. And I've got to investigate that, but she has something called the Covers channel, which is all covers of songs. That's kind of a cool one. She has the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame channel. I don't have that one. I need to investigate these things. But anyway, there are just a couple cool little nuggets that you get when you listen to the Covers channel, like the Isley Brothers doing Summer Breeze. That was a really unbelievable version, even if you don't like that song. And Mumford & Sons doing Bruce Springsteen's I'm on Fire, which, to me, one of Bruce Springsteen's very best songs, and done maybe even better by Mumford & Sons. So those are a couple of the things that we kind of enjoyed on a beautiful day. Didn't have the radio on all the time. My wife loves to look at houses and things like that, so that was very, very enjoyable for her. Well, the day before, we had spoken to my daughter in Brooklyn. We try to do that no more than every 4 or 5 days now. She's completely sequestered there. Her roommates have all gone home. Her neighborhood, her little neighborhood in Brooklyn, has had 150 confirmed cases of the coronavirus, so really even just going out for walks and going to the store is pretty problematic for her. So today we are getting together a giant care package for her with canned foods and things like that, and things she can't get, even if she can make it to her little market in that particular area. And it is a reminder of, if we needed it, and we don't here in Kansas City, but flyover country is doing a little bit better than much of the areas on the coast, like Seattle. I don't know how it started to happen, but I get notifications from the Seattle Times on my computer, and they really have it bad there. My other daughter lives in San Francisco. She's been pretty much locked down for a long time now, but has, they in the San Francisco area seem to really take it seriously almost from the start. And so those thoughts, I know you undoubtedly out there have relatives and friends and people scattered about the country. I think I mentioned this last week. Maybe my daughter wanted to come home, and we knew that was a terrible idea, and she really knew it was a terrible idea, and now has sort of been sanguine with the fact that she can watch anime with her sister at the same time, and they get on Zoom or whatever implement they want to use and can watch the same program at the same time and share things like that. So that was what was going on in my little world over the weekend. And after the break, it's time to talk about sports. Now, most of the sports news is not good. Most of the sports news is just gigantic speculation. You grasp and claw for any particular bit of good sports news, and I do have one really good sports story coming up amidst the really bad one for golf fans, that a golf tournament that's more than 3 months hence is being canceled as the first major to be canceled in golf. The others have been postponed so far, but the first one to be canceled comes up with the Open Championship. That coming up next on Sports Wrap, Monday Musings, Danny Sports Wrap, right here.
More of Danny's Reasonably Irreverent podcast after this.
We're here with Joe Spiker, the president of Easton Roofing. And Joe, you worked for other companies in the construction industry. What inspired you to start your own company in Easton Roofing?
Well, you know, Danny, when you are working for somebody else, you oftentimes don't get to see the project through from beginning to end, and you don't get the final control over the customer experience. And I wanted to build a place where people can come and get work done on their house and not have to worry about being treated the wrong way, and get a good customer service experience start to finish.
The company slogan is "Where Integrity Matters." Why is that so particularly important to you?
Well, for us, what that means is treating each other with respect at work, treating our clients with respect, and making the right choice, especially when no one's looking. So when you're presented all the time as a contractor with choices that have to be made, are you going to make more money on this if you cut a corner? And we just wanted to make a place and a slogan that said to our people and to whoever is our customer, we're not going to do that. We're going to make the right choice regardless of profit.
Easton Roofing, where integrity matters.
For many people, a family law case will be one of the most difficult experiences in their life. The law firm of Kenneth McRae will help you through it. Personal and effective help from Ken in concert with you will develop a unique strategy for your unique case. As Ken always says, divorce can be civil law, not civil war. Licensed in Kansas? Visit McRaeLawOffice.com or call 913-972-4765.
My friends at Advanced Sports and Family Chiropractic and Acupuncture are among the most accomplished and trusted clinics in the nation. Only one clinic has been rated in the top 5 in all 3 categories of chiropractic care, acupuncture, and rehabilitation, and that clinic is ASFCA. They have locations in Olathe, Overland Park, Prairie Village, Belton, and Lee Summit. Doctors Brad and Christina Woodle and their accomplished team of doctors and therapists will treat you like family, for the simplest of injuries to the most complicated conditions to avoid surgery. Whether you are seeking treatment for an injury or just looking to stay healthy and fit, this is the place for you. And it's been the place for me for almost 2 years now. I have been a strenuous daily exerciser for years, and as time goes on, that takes its toll. But regular appointments at Advanced Sports and Family Chiropractic and Acupuncture have helped keep me ticking on, and even as the years pile up, their regular care has allowed me to keep to my regimen and feel great. If you want to feel the same, give them a call or visit them at asfca.com/Danny. They accept all insurances and are open Monday through Saturday, and make sure to mention that Danny Clinkscale recommended Advanced Sports and Family Chiropractic and Acupuncture. Are you thinking of starting a new business? Does your current business feel stuck? Or are you just trying to grow what you already have? Running a business is a lot of work, and it takes the right team to make it all happen. If you're looking to grow your business, call my friends Ben and Greg over at Fuego Consulting. They put together a company that can help you reach your business goals. Whether you're looking to get online, build a social media strategy, or rebrand your business, they can help. Call Fuego at 816-663-9695 or visit them online at fuegoconsulting.com. Fuego Consulting. Let's grow your business together. If you'd like to join these and other great sponsors and market your business to a growing and engaged audience, contact us at Danny@DannyClinkscale.com. Look forward to hearing from you. Welcome back, and tonight down in Atlanta, Georgia, was supposed to be the national championship game in basketball, and we're supposed to be about a week into baseball, and of course all that just seems like a dream, and it also seems like kind of a dream that it was only about, well, it was really less than a month ago that we had our first real hard-hitting, home-hitting indication of this in Kansas City when the Big 12 tournament went from being set to go. A game or two was played, then it was going to be with no fans, and then soon after it was completely canceled. It seemed shocking at the time. It seemed like postponement might be something that was viable. We can see now how absurd that was, and I'm sure there are people who made some real protestations at that time about the decisions that were being made, who probably feel pretty foolish right now. And now we're really at a situation where I was thinking today and getting ready to do this podcast that maybe Independence Day in America would be a day we could think about where we would have some kind of independence from the coronavirus right now. Well, that seems also a bit like a far-fetched dream right now. And I have listened to many people, sensible people, generally positive people, who are of the thought that we're just not going to see much live sports this year at all. And I can absolutely see that, especially maybe not live sports that involves fans or involves real live contests. The NBA is talking about perhaps having a horse competition that they could televise. Obviously, horse, you're not guarding anyone. That might be a little bit of fun. Things that would seem absurd that you'd say, I'll never watch that. People are going to be dying to watch. We've already had virtual car racing, IndyCar, NASCAR. People are watching those things. There is some talk of a Tiger versus Phil golf match with just like one person with a phone filming it or something like that, which would be safe. And it is one of the things that we can do in our life right now. I think the golf courses in the area, many of which are open, don't want to really be very public about that. There's no way you can say that a golf course is an essential business, but maybe it's one that is a valuable business. If parks are open, and many of those are not shuttered but have been really restricted because people were going to the park and not doing a very good job of social distancing, by its very nature, especially if you're playing golf one to a cart or walking, to me, it's just about the perfect type of activity to create easy social distancing. Now they have the special cups. You don't even have to reach in and get the ball out. You can leave the flag stick in all the time. If you have any sense of sense, you can play golf and have that be a good part of your activity. And I didn't mention that yesterday, as part of our drive, we went and got some golf clubs for my wife. My wife hasn't played golf in 15 years. When we first met, about 20 years ago, she did play golf. Her father was an avid golfer, and she was a pretty good golfer. And she had played less and less because she had started her own business, and that created frustration for her because she was pretty good. And with incredible lack of play, that wasn't going in the right direction, so she just kind of quit. And when we were talking about how the weather was getting better and things to do, she said she might want to start playing golf again. She said, why don't I just take out the clubs I have down there in the garage, which we still have, and play with those. I'm not playing with those clubs. Those clubs are 20 years old. Technology has come a long way. Let's do better for you. No need to go out there with those old hammerhead things and try and succeed. So we are going to be trying some golf together for the first time in 15 years, and that's another thing to put a smile on your face. But there will be no golf at Royal St. George's this year. The Open Championship today was canceled. Now, this is the 149th version of the Open Championship, and next year was supposed to be the 150th, and that celebration, per se, was to be held at St. Andrews, the home of golf. Well, in today's announcement about the cancellation, Royal St. George's will still be the 149th, and St. Andrews will be in 2022, we hope, the 150th Open Championship. There were a lot of things at play here. First of all, as I mentioned, things in England have really escalated to a horrendous proportion, and this is a sort of a world championship of golf, not that golfers don't have to come some distance to play in American majors, but most of the international players live in the United States now, or at least have a home here. It's completely different if you're going to have the world's golfers not only participating in the Open Championship, but having to travel there. So there are all kinds of things there. We've read and heard from last week when Wimbledon was canceled, how important the insurance money they were going to get, literally like $100 million was. They spent a considerable amount of money on that insurance, and it certainly paid off for them. Not all sports big events have had a pandemic type of insurance policy written, but many have. When some of the other viruses we saw in the last few years, Zika virus and the others, came up, these organizations did that. The Open Championship had done that. There's deadlines there, but this is, I guess if you want any good news out of this isn't just because in England you can't play golf in the middle of July, although that may well end up being the case. There were just so many logistical concerns with a tournament like the Open Championship, and it is bye-bye. Of course, the NFL still produces news, although it's lessened over time. Most of the free agents have signed. Chiefs signed a new tight end recently, so they made a little bit of news, which actually creates a headline that would never be a headline in any other. Ricky Seals-Jones isn't exactly headline news, but it is when you don't have much news. But I saw some comments from Bill Polian about the challenges of the draft without the workouts that almost all of the higher echelon players do, and then also many of the players who don't get to go to the combine do on college campuses. Well, of course, those are out. So that is one element of evaluating players that has been eliminated. And Bill Polian, who's been at it for a long, long time, and of course you see on ESPN, says, well, maybe some of the people who haven't been at it as long as I have are kind of panicking now, but there's no reason that this should be really any more than a shred of an issue. And I guess the overwhelming detail-oriented and manic and obsessive nature of football preparation, scouting, and everything else is shown here, because the fact that you have players that you've seen play for years in the college level. You have gobs of tape now not film. You had an NFL combine. You can actually Zoom interview people. So there is no excuse for anything. If subsequent to this draft, afterwards, they say, well, we didn't quite get to have the evaluation we liked, and that's probably why we didn't do such a good job, that will be garbage. And I think Bill Polian put a real sensible, wise, old spin on that. I think he actually does a good job of commentary. He still does football games on the radio, also for ESPN, in addition to his studio work. And I thought that was a good sense of, real common sense from him to say, shut up. If you can't evaluate football players with the kind of tools that you have at your disposal, think about what other sports are dealing with. Baseball is talking about maybe just doing 5 rounds of their baseball draft. And they didn't have a college season to evaluate players. They had past college seasons. So they're going to be working with a much less information than the NFL. But, of course, the NFL is paranoid about these type of things anyway. So you can understand it making sense, but you can understand why they say things like that this is going to be a difficult process with them as they go ahead with the NFL draft as scheduled in a completely different fashion in middle to late April. Finally, a good story, only stories that are marginally good become that much better. Today on ESPN, they did a lengthy story. Jeff Passan did it on ESPN Online, so you can go and access it there. Korean baseball is about to start play. South Korea probably has done the best job of any nation in the world of containing the virus. China, where it started, ended up doing a pretty good job, but they still haven't been able to get their sports rolling, and also they had to put in much more draconian type of implementation of things that you can do much more easily in a totalitarian nation. South Korea is not that, yet they got on it early. They had experience with the SARS disease, and they had very low numbers as far as the coronavirus is concerned. Now they have returned to practice, and they're having inter-squad games. They're actually starting to perhaps televise some of this action because I saw tape of it. Players were playing inter-squad games with masks on, many of them. Then some players complained. One player had a temperature a little bit above 99, so they were taking extra precautions. Subsequently, the next day, many weren't wearing masks, no fans. But they're just about to start in a couple of weeks, a week's worth of exhibition games, and then they are slated to start to play their actual professional season in the KBO by the 1st of May. I would imagine that it's very likely we will be seeing Korean baseball action on one of our networks, be it MLB Network or ESPN or something. The desperation for actual live sporting events is so great that I think that we likely will see this. They are going to do a 2-week shutdown if any player tests positive. They have very elaborate and sophisticated things at their stadiums. They have a scanner when somebody walks into the stadium. They actually can gauge the body temperature of that particular player. So if anybody has a fever, they're going to know that instantly when they enter the stadium complex. As I mentioned, no fans. There's no plan on having fans in the stands. And maybe this is an indication because we're talking about now it would seem if Major League Baseball can even do this by August 1st, that might be really, really optimistic. We haven't even plateaued yet. As I mentioned earlier, the Surgeon General is saying this is going to be the worst week that we've seen. And that doesn't necessarily mean that it was the last worst week. We can hope that that's the case, but I don't know if that is the case. I think that it is very, very possible, as I mentioned in the opener in the first segment, that we see very little live sports this year of the real game variety. And I think it's almost likely that the probability of having an actual gathering of thousands of fans in a stadium in this calendar year is getting to be very, very far-fetched. Far-fetched to me. Maybe this will all be too pessimistic. I don't think it is. I've tried to be optimistic from the start, and as I've mentioned a couple times on this podcast, when I tried to be optimistic, I often thought to myself, well, you're just trying to fool yourself. And I think I'm kind of past trying to fool myself, and I would just likely be more happy to be pleasantly surprised than have any expectation that things are going to happen. And maybe that'll just lend itself to me building another garden somewhere. We don't have that much room. I don't know if we need another flower bed. We certainly don't need to grow vegetables. I don't even know if we have a good spot for that. But maybe people will end up with flower beds and vegetable gardens that they don't really need, just as they probably are consuming some entertainments that they never would have considered in the past. Hope you enjoyed that particular edition of Monday Musings, Danny SportsWrap, right here on the Reasonably Irreverent podcast. And, of course, I've got blogs and essays and everything else coming up during the week. We've got music this week. We've got our usual Kansas City profiles. I won't give you a real hint as to who it is, but just like last Friday, we had a great visit with Gary Lezak. This Friday's is looking like it's going to be a fantastic one as well. I love doing those things, so I appreciate the fact that you are appreciating them. And once again, thanks for the great numbers that you are building here at DannyKlinkscale.com. And it's just, for me, a little pleasant sidebar. I already was doing well with this particular podcast and website, and you're making it all the more successful. So thanks a lot, and look forward to speaking with you often during this trying time, and hope all of your people in your circle are safe, well, and healthy. That can't possibly be the case because we see the numbers, but maybe, at least in our particular area, those numbers will be mitigated, and hopefully our nation as a whole will begin to heal. Talk to you again soon, and all the best.
We hope you enjoyed the latest Danny Klinkscale Reasonably Irreverent podcast. Come back soon for something fresh and new. This podcast was made possible by our great sponsors like the law offices of Kenneth McRae, developing a unique strategy for your family law case. Divorce can be civil law, not civil war.